In 1992, after some years of planning, the Catechism of the Catholic Church was promulgated by then Pope John Paul II. It took a few more months for the official translation of the Catechism from Latin to English to be approved, and then even more time for it to be published. However, despite the delays, it was pretty much available for all who were interested by the spring of 1995. The Catechism was envisioned as a comprehensive summary of the beliefs and practices of the Catholic Church. As such, it was intended primarily for teachers, catechists, bishops, priests, and vowed religious men and women. Basically, the men and women of the Church who were officially entrusted with the ministry of faithfully passing on the beliefs, traditions, and practices of the Church to a new generation of believers. It was never imagined as something that the general public would be interested in. As it turned out, however, the general public had a completely different idea. Generations of Catholics, formed by the ever-present Baltimore Catechism, promulgated by the Third Council of Baltimore, United States Catholic bishops, had fond memories of the old catechism and assumed that the new catechism would have the same usefulness. Imagine their surprise when the 264-page Baltimore Catechism was replaced by the 574-page Catechism of the Catholic Church. A very readable and familiar catechism, constructed in the old systematic method of questions followed by the correct answer, had been effectively replaced by a small reference text. The difference between the two catechisms was not just in page length. The intent of the publisher for the use of the catechism was entirely different. The Baltimore Catechism was intended as a popular catechetical presentation of the basics of the faith, intended for easy reference. The Catechism of the Catholic Church had a completely different purpose and a much smaller audience in mind. This difference in intent is not only descriptive, but also essential for the formation of a satisfying perspective and understanding. To effectively use and understand the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it's not enough to be able to read it. What is even more important is the ability to understand the full intent and context of what is written. Every word, sentence, or particularly canon of the Catechism does not hold equal weight. There are dogmas, official doctrines, quotations from various sources, writings that are representative of the teaching tradition of the Church, writings from the practice traditions of the Church, and the list is endless. To simply read something from the Catechism and then to state, this is what the Catechism says, is woefully inaccurate and misleading. Some of what the Catechism presents is historical theology. Some of what the Catechism presents is representative of the thinking of systematic theologians. Some of what the Catechism presents is the musings and practiced piety of the saints. Some is settled tradition and practice, while still other canons are representative of what the Church teaches about a subject at this point in time. But it is still unsettled theology, and there are valid and optional theological options that represent another viewpoint. If the reader does not understand the difference and the nuances of what is written, and simply provides equal weight to what is written, they're making a grave error. No matter how informed they might think they are effectively misinformed. Even worse, convincingly confused and misdirected. An older reference that is illustrative but has perhaps lost some of its ability to be useful is the old and familiar newspaper. The informed reader of the newspaper needed to be aware of the editorial bias of the editorial board of the newspaper. They needed to understand the difference between an editorial, a cartoon on the comic page, an advertisement, an obituary, something that is on the sports or the entertainment pages. And what is a front page story, whether local, national, or for that matter, international? To simply state this is what the newspaper says was woefully inaccurate and misleading. In this example, the newspaper and the Catechism share a common starting point. Another point is incredibly important, and that is to understand that although the Catechism of the Catholic Church is intended to be a comprehensive summary of Catholic belief and practice, it is deliberately incomplete. A summary is, by the very nature of a summary, incomplete. It does not present, or for that matter, even pretend to present, the complete summary of Catholic beliefs when it comes to sacred scripture, moral theology, cosmology, metaphysics, medical ethics, or for that matter, current and orthodox pastoral practice in whole or in part. This understanding and perspective will help the reader understand what the Catechism is not, but does not indicate what the usefulness of the Catechism might be. The usefulness is exactly what it was intended to be when published. The starting point for discussion and teaching, the groundwork, the opening statement, the historical reflection, the practiced and respected summary of some of the beliefs of the people of God in the Roman Catholic tradition. All of this is an important perspective for people who intend to reference the Catechism of the Catholic Church, but it is more important for people with scrupulosity. The Catechism is most definitely not your resource for the clarity and the certitude that you think you need to navigate the push and pull of the scrupulous condition. You will not discover what you are ultimately looking for. At the very most, you might experience a temporary reprieve and a sense of satisfaction, but it will soon be replaced with another question, another doubt, even more anxiety. The Catechism does offer some guidance. However, there is equally important guidance available from a trusted confessor or spiritual director, even more than the authority that is outside of your inner self. The real authority, the convincing authority, is within you because of God's manifold grace at work in your life. What is necessary is not the answers, but rather to learn the dynamic of your scrupulosity, to recognize your individual triggers, to resist the isolating force of the disorder that is sustained by anxiety and fear. What is more important than any resource book is to learn to manage your scrupulous condition. That is the only way to any kind of real peace and life. A very good choice for a person with scrupulosity is to keep the Catechism on your library shelf or tucked away in the unused files of your computer. You do not need it. As tempting as it might be to consult it when you have a doubt or a question, it is really not helpful. Even if you might feel a certain kind of satisfaction or feel that you have an answer that you are seeking, your OCD scrupulosity will not rest and will soon return with a different question, another concern, a doubt that you did not think of. You will be convinced that you missed something, that you need to do more research, you need to keep reading. All the while, all you are accomplishing is enabling your scrupulosity to rampage even more out of control. I was the president and publisher of Liguori Publications back in 1995, when the Catechism of the Catholic Church was published. Liguori had the marketing ability to reach every Catholic parish in North America, every religious education director, every RCIA coordinator, with marketing materials that promoted the Catechism. Publishers Weekly, the trade magazine of publishing in the United States, credited Liguori Publications with making the Catechism the bestseller that it most certainly is. And we were understandably proud of our effort. All the effort the staff at Liguori Publications put into promoting the Catechism was because we understood that it was a useful and essential tool for the formation of Catholic students, helpful and pastoral reading material, and catechetical products that were useful in the classroom and in the home. We truly believed that we were helping to build a new catechetical formation system in North America. Never, for even a moment, did we believe that we were promoting a book that had all of the answers, or for that matter, even some of the questions. We understood what the Catechism was intended to be, and we were behind the effort to enable the success of the Catechism. Our efforts were a success as far as it goes. Please keep all of us in mind the next time you might be tempted to open the Catechism and search the pages of the Catechism when you have a question or a doubt. You are looking in the wrong place.